Right then, we are back for some racing. So this is the big one, the Daytona Race of Champions, which is an annual event, which is invite only. So I believe it's only the top three finishes in their championships, or if you're deemed suitable for the event, you will get a personal invite. But this is Heat 1, Group 3, and this is obviously in the Sodi class. Now you'll see here there's plenty of karts ahead at the minute because we essentially start as one grid. So we've got D-Maxes at the front there, and obviously Sodis, which is the class that I'm in at the minute. So we're now up into P2 in the Sodi class. But obviously we can see here, I'm just trying to let these D-Maxes get back into their race because, you know, there's been multiple times in these races where, you know, a D-Max takes out the Sodi and obviously vice versa. So obviously the good thing is you can hear them from quite a way away, so it's quite easy to just stay out the way or just point to them where you want them to go, rather than them just pushing their way through. But yeah, obviously got a good start from P3, and we are obviously challenging for the lead in the class overall, which we are now in P2. Now, I didn't know this at the time until I got in the car, but yeah, Kart 16 isn't a fantastic car. It just felt there wasn't much drive from the engine. I feel like the clutch has probably seen better days and on its way out. There's just no real like thrust forward from the engine. It just seems very, very flat, which, you know, obviously racing in essentially was an open weight limit. So every driver in this class, well, not every driver, but you know, the minimum weight for this class is 75 kilos. So, you know, most of these drivers are going to be 75, 80 kilo. And obviously I weigh in at 105, so we've got, you know, a good 20, 30 kilo weight disadvantage. So of course, obviously, you know, you can see the speed difference there. Obviously, of course, that's a lot to do with the weight, but obviously, you know, I drive these karts very frequently, so I know what a good engine in these karts feel like in comparison to this one. So hopefully, you know, the technical team at Daytona will have a little look at this one and get a new clutch in it, and it'll probably be fine. But obviously what you just see there was a yellow flag, and now I've cut a bit of the video out because it was quite a long one, and now we're back into greens. So this is you know, we're probably about 4 minutes into the race now, and obviously you can see that the racer has made quite a big mistake there, which actually gives me an opportunity to close, and this is probably one of the best overtaking opportunities on the track. So obviously I'm close enough here to try the inside line. So what we really want to do is hook that on that curb there, and as you can see there, it's executed pretty much perfectly. Obviously the I think it's Finn there, I think that's the kid's name, tried to go back up the inside, but you really can't overtake on the inside at turn 10 there, because that's exactly what happens. You just lose traction and end up spinning. But obviously we're into the lead now, and obviously, you know, I've been, to be fair, I can't even remember the last time I've done a dry race around Milton Keynes. Probably 3 months now. So I know, like, you know, good references of what sort of is a good lap time in these conditions. And, you know, obviously I'm in the lead, but I can also see on the lap time that the lap time's not quite where it should be for these conditions. So it's kind of, again, highlighting the fact that the car isn't very, very strong. And funnily enough, I do actually get this car again in Heat 3, where it's even more obvious. As you can see, there's another car in the barrier there, which is a D-Max. So obviously a yellow flag, and it might stay out for a little bit, this one. But yeah, obviously not right now. But yeah, at this stage, you know, we're just trying to, you know, get away and, you know, just maintain the race lead, which, you know, we do get a bit of a good race come towards the end of this heat. So I will jump back in at that point. So you'll probably see as I go throughout this race, I do start looking behind me, and I can see there is another driver actually closing in on me, which kind of leads to a bit of an incident towards the back end of the race, which was settled in race control. So to cut a long story short, yeah, there was a penalty issued to the other driver for this, and we did end up with a good result. So let's watch that, and I will jump in a bit. So at this point, I've had a couple of looks over the shoulder, and I can see there's definitely a driver closing in. Now, in reality, I did feel quite on the limit with this kart already. So I was just trying to be super smooth, just make sure I'm consistent, not making any mistakes. So obviously, I just have another little look there, and I can see he's right on me there as we start the last lap, which is obviously pressure time, because I know obviously he's caught me up, so he is probably going a fair bit quicker, and obviously I don't know who it is at this point, and I'm going to probably assume he's probably going to blast me down the straight. So I just thought, right, just hit all my apexes, keep the lines on point through the corners, which is basically the only thing that I can really do at this stage. So and just make it difficult for him to pass. And obviously as we go here through turn 5, looking pretty clean through there, getting on the grippy stuff, just veering the corner off as much as I can, just to try and create a little bit of a shorter distance. And then just a little bit of early rotation there, again just kind of keeping it close to the barriers. It felt very slippy at turn 6 over the weekend, not much front end grip there. Usually there's a little bit more, but on this day in particular it was kind of very understeery, so you kind of had to get a little bit of rotation on the steering and all the brakes. But this is obviously about to lead onto the back straight. We get a pretty good exit, to be fair. And obviously I can see at this point, you can't see him on the camera, but I think there's probably about 3 kart lengths difference there, and I'm just having another look there because obviously he's closing, and obviously I'll give it a little bit of a block there to try and block the line, which we kind of just do there around the outside. So at this point I'm thinking it's job done. Okay, he's not going to be able to pass me. If he tries to go in the inside line, he's going to obviously lose on the exit, but you'll see here, there's an impact there where he just kind of pushed me off of the line, and you can see I'm giving him I don't know what I'm doing with my finger there, but we're giving it a wave. And yeah, basically that was the end of that. I think got a 5-second penalty in the end, and we were gifted the win, which I think was the right call, to be fair. It wasn't necessarily anything completely out of line, but if we're looking at the rules, it was definitely an advantage by contact. And it's kind of what I was saying to him, after the race, or his dad. I said, if he's up alongside of me and he pushes me wide, fine, I've got, it's your corner, do you know what I mean? But if I'm being used as a brake, and obviously being a heavier driver, I've definitely got a little bit more capability and traction on the brakes to brake late. So if obviously a lighter driver is matching me on the brakes, then there's definitely going to be some sort of contact, right? So I think that was obviously the right thing. And now we are preparing for heat number 2. We've got kart number 9 here. I didn't know if this was a good one, but I don't think I've actually ever used this kart before. But to my pleasant surprise, this was an absolute awesome kart. So yeah, this is probably one of the better ones in the lineup. And we were starting in last place in this kart. So what you'll see in a minute is when I do exit the pit lane, I purposely hold right back, because the track is evolving, it is drying up. And I was watching a couple of the previous heats, and I could see there was a couple of people trying dry lines versus wet lines and the rest of it. So what I wanted to do was give myself a big gap on the warm-up, the formation lap, so I could push on the race line to see if there was grip, which luckily for me there was. So I kind of already knew this going into the start, and I think everyone else was just a little bit slow on figuring that out, where I'd already kind of done that figuring out process on the warm-up lap. So let's get into it. So as we skip forward, we are now into the race start. So as you can see, we are dead last here, and I don't actually even get a really good start. I kept on falling asleep off the start there. I could have been much closer, but yeah. So as you can see, the track is definitely drying. There's still some slippy spots, like here, for example. Turn 1 was quite slippy, and a little bit of contact there. But this race was one of those races where I came in and I was absolutely buzzing, because the kart felt good, I felt good, and we were just making overtakes literally every lap, just coming through the field. And we started last, and we managed to get our way very high up the order, which you'll see. A nice little double overtake here, straight through the centre, which was pretty ballsy and high risk. But when you're starting last, it's like, well, it can only be better, right? So I'm either going to finish last or I'm going to gain places. So I thought, right, I'm just going to risk it for a biscuit and put some hard moves in, and just literally zero hesitation. If there's a door open, I'm going to go for it. As you can see here, we get a really good exit here, and obviously the kart in front's a little bit slower, and obviously as a result we roll off here, let the other kart through. And I could see here, this is exactly what was going to happen, so I thought perfect, I'll just sit back, get a good drive, and obviously just do them both there as we go down the straight. So, and see, you kind of get caught up there with the other kart, which actually worked in my favour because it actually pushed me along. And this corner here was quite, as you can see, I actually thought I was going to go off the track then, but when I kind of figured out where the grippier part of the track was, a little bit of contact there as well, you know, it was just a case of just utilising that to my advantage. So as you can see here, it's quite damp there, but it was still sticking relatively well, and we're going to see a really, really good line here. So you can see they all understeer towards the barrier. I get a nice bit of rotation and get a real good drive through there, up the inside of 2 there. So I think we're probably around 10th place now with that pass. And obviously now we're just hunting down the rest of them, and you know, just like I said, it was just a case of when the doors open, I'm going to go for it, and zero hesitation, because you know, obviously I don't really know where I'm at. I know I've gone forward quite a way, but I was just like, you know, it's one of those races where you're in such a good rhythm, everything's just clicking, and you are just just putting in the pace. And as you can see, the karts are just coming back to me, so it's just like I knew I was in a good spot. And just carried on pushing forward. So I'm just going to leave this to play until something more exciting happens. So as we can see, these karts ahead are 3 abreast, and it was actually quite slippy. As you can see there, I've got quite a lot of emphasis, as did the other karts on the about mid corner there. We've got a lovely little tap there as well, but we held the position around the outside. You know, if you just look at the track itself, you know, there is obviously wetter parts, and I completely go straight into the tyre wall there. There's obviously wetter parts of the track and dry parts. Generally, you know, only for me, the real slippy part was turn 1. The rest of the track was pretty much dry levels of grip, which I think was just taking everyone else a little bit longer to figure out. Or maybe, you know, maybe this is where kind of being a heavier driver was paying off. Obviously, getting more, you know, more traction through the tyres, more temperature through the tyres, traction through the corners, maybe, or maybe I was just, you know, a little bit more willing to take the risk. But yeah, I mean, as you can see, that with the karts that we're closing down, the pace difference is quite high. Do you know what I mean? The difference between in pace was some of these guys was about 3-4 seconds. Obviously, as they're trying to figure things out. But this was fairly slippy here. But if you were smart enough in how you handled it in terms of where you positioned the kart, you didn't really need to worry too much about that. But yeah, this kart here, as you can see, was actually a real strong kart. You know, I can pretty much, obviously, yes, I've got a better exit, but I can hold a slipstream pretty well. And then you'll see here, I do get a little bit of a slip there, a little dab of the brake, and then we just kind of get back to the apex there, and we do get kind of stuck together here. And then that's the kart at the outside, inside, whatever it is, kind of just get the position back, and then we kind of just carry the speed around the outside of this kart, and then position secured. And then again here, we were pretty quick through here. Again, a little bit of a tap there, nothing too bad there. Then we obviously get back up the inside here. And then continue to push forward in the pursuit of the positions in front of us. But at this point, the leader, Charlie, has completely checked out, because I think in this heat he started somewhere near the front. He may have even been on pole, so he just kind of, like, you know, drove into the distance unchallenged, really. I would be interested if we could have started somewhere near him in this heat, because I think I would have had something for him in this heat, but never mind, we had to start at the back. But yeah, again, you know, it's just a case of literally just trying to get past as quickly as you can, but obviously picking where you get past. I probably could have passed at the inside here, but again, all I know is that it just absolutely destroyed both of us down the straight. So I thought I'd just, you know, live to fight another day and just try another opportunity. So we get a nice run out the final corner there. Again, one of the stronger corners on the track. We get a lovely exit and mid-corner speed through there, which places us lovely at the inside there of turn number 2. And then we are pushing on for the pursuit of the podium places. So I think that is third place and second place that you can see ahead now. And I think there was probably around 3 or 4 minutes left on the timer, so I knew there was quite a good chance I was probably going to catch these pretty quickly, which you can kind of see already here. We're just taking a lot of time out, in particular like the corner entry and the braking zones and stuff like that, where I'm just kind of, literally full send, full dry speed, and it was just, I was getting some good feedback. The kart was gripping, so I just thought, all right, just keep pushing. As you can see, we took a big chunk out of the guy in front now, and we will soon set about putting a move on. So you'll see there was an attempt at a pass then, and I kind of backed out halfway through the pass at the hairpin because there was a yellow flag out. Now here, I believe the kart in front was a little bit slacking with the green flag, or getting past the incident I should say, and obviously left the door wide open for me there, and yeah, I didn't need to be asked twice to go through that. So just now we're pushing on. We're now in third place, coming from P20 in about, I think these races are, in 10 minutes we're doing about 7 laps. So from P20 up to P3 now, in 7 laps is pretty decent. And obviously now we are chipping away at the kart in front, which is P2, and yeah, we are we're taking good chunks out. I think I do take quite a lot of time out of this corner here, turn 8, which really does help me go all the way down the straight, as I'm just carrying so much more speed and momentum, and just about probably nipping a tiny bit of slipstream there, I don't know, but obviously you can see here the speed difference is just due to that drive, and then obviously that driver there was obviously kind of got stuck on the wet part of the track, whereas I already figured the wet part of the track was about a metre offline, so if you really just threw it up the curb, that was where all the grip was. So that was a nice little position gain there, and obviously now I've got some clear track, so we can get some real quick lap times in, and really just chip away, and just obviously I know the race win was never on the cards, obviously, because the other guy was probably about 10 or so seconds in front at this point. So it was literally just a case of just having some fun, because this is probably the driest track I've driven on in probably the best part of 3 months. So yeah, it was quite enjoyable, and like I said, this kart was very good. Highly rate this kart. I hope I do get this again soon. Kart 9 seemed to be a real sweet one, so I will jump back in at the end of this heat. So that's it. P20 to P2 in 7 laps. So obviously I was very happy with that. I was absolutely buzzing with that result afterwards. I think, when everyone comes racing, you just want to have a good result and a good race. And this one was the complete opposite to that. So I was starting P7 and I'm back in kart number 16. So I knew this was going to be a bit of a struggle. And as you can see here, I was pretty much flat out before I went round the final corner, and obviously the speed difference there was, the way the other cars accelerated was quite a lot. But I had some pretty decent pace early on, but I think that was just because I was willing to push harder on the colder tyres. But as the race goes on, you can see the difference there, like the way these cars are just accelerating away. Now obviously, I say it every time, the weight is playing a big deal, but this car was pretty pants, if I'm being completely honest. And I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be it probably just needs a clutch or the clutch adjusting, something along those lines. So yeah, it handles pretty well. It does everything else well. It's just got no punch, no speed out of any of these corners. And basically, this race is literally just going to be me holding on for dear life and just trying to secure the best result I can. Because at this point, I already knew there was no way this was going to be a positive result, which is kind of annoying because how the day started. It started very, very well. Obviously, P1 in practice, P1 in the first heat, P2 in the second heat. I think going into this heat, I think me and Charlie were actually tied on points going into this heat, which was going to set the grid for the A final, which is going to be the video at the end of this. Sorry, the clip at the end of this video. But yeah, obviously it is what it is. To be fair, like I said, I wasn't expecting anything from this anyway because of the being no weight classes and whatnot. So anything that happened, was kind of just a bonus, really. But we had some good, a good little feeling in the kart. We're having a good little push on, despite obviously that I know there's no matter how hard I try, there's no way I'm going to catch these cars in front. But it was still good fun anyway, just because, like I said, the last probably 3 months in the UK, every Thursday night league, every Super Champs, and any other event I've been to over the last few months has just been wet. And don't get me wrong, I love it, but this kind of just made me realise how much I actually missed the dry as well, and having a good old push on. But yeah, I'm going to jump back in a bit because there's not really too much to say about this one really, other than just I'm just going to slowly start slipping backwards. So we're about to start falling back a little bit further down the pack now. I think I want to say I finished 10th in this race. Because the driver just showing me his bumper there, but obviously we just kept our foot in and held the throttle. A little bit of contact there on the way out, and then obviously you got the switch back, and then I was just like, well, this isn't going to really go too well at the minute, and I could hear some other carts behind me, so I was just like, yeah, I knew I was a sitting duck at this point, so all I was trying to do here is just keep retaliating and keep, just being difficult to pass and try and overtake back when I can. But as you'll see, there's it's just nothing there in terms of the pace. So it's just going to be a case of holding on, and I think I'll probably get past here as well. I'm pretty sure, maybe. There we go. Yeah, there's another car at the inside there. And this one then obviously puts me back on the inside. So again, we're just defending, and it's just me just trying to hold a position, because at this point, every position could determine the outcome of the final. Which, funnily enough, it actually did, because me and I think there was 4 or 5 drivers that all had the same amount of points. So in the final, I think I was P7 on the grid based off of my points, but the driver who was in 4th place had the same amount of points as me, and I'm assuming they give it to him because, well, I don't know, but they give it to him maybe a faster lap time in this heat. I don't know, who knows. But yeah, so that's basically how the points work. We were all on 108 points between about 4 of us from 4th place to 8th. So yeah, obviously trying to hold on to any position possible could have had quite a big outcome on the final, which I think probably in hindsight now it probably would have had quite a big difference if I could have started in P4. So obviously I didn't know that at the time, but looking back now, I think it would have definitely made quite a big difference. But I will jump back in a minute. I think I'm probably actually going to get past now. I'm pretty sure Finn comes up the inside here. Yeah, there you go. And another car there as well. And I think there was actually, between these two, that wasn't actually Finn knocking me out the way. I think it was that those two carts collided together, and obviously I was just kind of sat like a sitting duck. So lose another couple of positions there. I think we kind of just try and stay with them for as long as we can, but it's just like every couple of laps, or every lap is just a couple of attempts here, a couple of attempts there, and then before you know it, there's nowhere to go. And obviously there's D-Max there coming past and lap us. So it's like I'm just trying to stay out of his way, and vice versa. And then I can see, I think they're both Sodis actually behind us there. So yeah, just trying to do my race, and obviously not getting the D-Max in front of the D-Max battle. But yeah, I want to jump back in a minute, because there's not really too much to talk about here. So we've got the little aerodynamic tuck in. Didn't really make too much difference because we were about to get passed by 2 carts there. I did get back up the inside of this cart, a little bit late, a little bit dirty. I wouldn't say dirty, but a little bit harsh, I would say. But at the end of the day, this is the race of champions. We're all battling for position. Obviously, I've got a little punt there, which is kind of is what it is really. I didn't have nothing to fight with. Do you know what I mean? It was like bringing a fucking spoon to a gunfight. Do you know what I mean? There wasn't really too much that I could fight with, but we did the best we could and just held on for as long as we could. Just trying to be inconvenient for any of the other drivers, just to make it difficult for them to pass. There's another D-Max coming through there, so we just kind of just waved him through, so he didn't get in our way. And then that is pretty much going to be it for the heat. That is going to be, that's pretty much all the excitement for the heat. So I shall jump in on the start of the A final. So here we are, start of the A final, and it was due to rain all day, okay, and I was praying for rain because I thought if it's going to rain, I've got a very, very good chance because I know I'm quite a bit quicker than all the drivers in front of me in the wet, and at this point it's just started raining, and I am rubbing my hands together thinking, right, this is meant to be, today is my day. Unfortunately it wasn't, but it doesn't really look it right now, but it is starting to rain slightly, and it is getting slippy very, very quickly, as you'll probably see on the race start here. So we got a stern warning about the race starts and not jumping, getting too fast to the car in front, so I think everyone was a bit cautious there. As you can see here, it's quite a bit slippy, quite a lot of understeer there, and obviously the track just from now at this point onwards just gets wetter and wetter. Now, this is kind of where I needed to just go forward, but I just kind of got stuck behind carts and stuck in battles and whatnot like there. Here, for example, as a result of Charlie having a bit of an issue, and I've lost 2 positions, and this cart here just sends it up the inside of everybody. It spins the cart in front. So yeah, that was that. Essentially, that there was the end of this race because the cart in front. Actually, there's another one here coming up the inside of me. Does he get it through? Possibly, yeah. So basically, it's one of those situations where it's like, I had the pace to challenge to win this race for sure, no question about it. But I just got a bad start, and even though the pace in the wet is quite a bit faster than the lighter drivers around in this race anyway, getting past a lighter driver in the wet, when generally the wet is kind of like single line almost, it is so difficult to do, which you'll kind of see, how quickly I can catch this cart in front, but I just can't get past him because obviously, when you're in a battle with a cart in the wet that's not quite as fast as you, it kind of negates my strong points in terms of the braking, the speeds, getting pushed off the track, just like that. So I can't be fast where I need to be fast to make the lap time. So obviously all I'm doing is matching the cart in front essentially, but losing to them because they're lighter and accelerate faster at the corners. So yeah, you're going to watch these next couple of laps. It's literally just going to be me trying to get past this cart for quite a long time, and again just falling in the firing line of other carts and whatnot, and just losing positions I didn't need to be losing. I think, like I said, in the previous in the previous heat, I think if maybe I could have nicked an extra point somewhere, that would have put me in like P4 on the grid, and I think that would have been enough to just get me with the faster lightweight traffic, which would have, I would have, if I just gone away with them, and it would have been a bit easier. But obviously, like I said, I'm just getting beaten up, battered everywhere here, losing more and more positions, and it just takes me a while to, you probably watched a couple of these videos that I've done before, and you'll always hear me say it's about picking your moment, the right moment at the right time. And obviously, like I said, you'll see here is that I'm losing time down the straight to then gain it in the corner, and then by the time I get to the hairpin, I'm getting slowed down. So it's just, I'm actually trying a different line here on the inside just to try something a little bit different. But now we're getting held up in the braking zone, so now I've kind of lost all my corner speed, which is a strong point for me around this corner, and now all I've done is lost even more time. So it's a bit of a yo-yo effect, but we can't moan. Look, do you know what I mean? Everyone's there to race for their own position and whatnot, and it's not their fault that I'm very heavy, and vice versa. So yeah, it is what it is. Sometimes it happens, like I said, I've said this so many times, I sound like a broken record, but I think if I could have been starting towards the front, it would have been a bit of a different story. But it is what it is. We don't cry over spilt milk, and I enjoy myself anyway. It's a big event, and there's a lot of drivers. I think there was 63 people entered the Sodi class. So, a lot of drivers, and these guys, none of these guys are slow, do you know what I mean? It's not like, like a Thursday night league, for example, where you get, quite a difference in speed. Like the fast guys are still fast, but, generally like the mid to back of the pack are generally quite a bit slower. But, here, this is, everyone's finished in the top 3 of championships, they've won races, you know what I mean? And so nobody here is a slouch. Everyone knows how to race, everyone's fast, everyone's, it's a difficult difficult championship or a difficult event to be competitive in. And like I said, I had no expectations in this, other than I wanted to try and make the A final, which we did. You can see me there. I don't know what I was even saying then, but I was probably just asking them very politely to just get out of my way, because at this point I already know that there's no way I'm going to catch the leaders in about 7 minutes left of the race. So at this point the head's pretty much gone again. Driver braking a lot earlier than me, so I kind of had to just avoid the contact and go off the track. Again, getting frustrated. Wasn't this guy in front? This guy's in front fault at all. He's doing his own race, and I'm just just getting a little bit annoyed because I can't do what I wanted to do. But no offence or anything like that to the guy in front. So whatever I'm doing with my hands, it's not aimed at you. It's just aimed at in frustration. But thankfully, you make a mistake there, and I did kind of get a bit of a free bit of air now to just try and push on. Now, interestingly, with the lap times, on paper my lap time was significantly slower than the race leaders, but everyone set their fastest lap on lap 2, which was when the track was semi-wet, semi-dry. And then I was on Speed Hive, I was comparing my laps towards the end of the race versus their end of the race, and it was pretty much exactly the same. So the pace was there, but at the end of the day, it don't really matter now. But yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now because this is just it now. Just me driving around. I do make a fair few mistakes coming up because I just get a little bit frustrated and just try a little bit too hard, which is just typical me, really. But yeah, I'll jump in at the end and do a bit of an outro. So as you can see now, it is fully wet, and it's just how we like it. But yeah, this is it. This is the end of the race. We finished P8 in the Saudi Race of Champions, which, to be fair, like I said, you know, thinking about it now, at the time I was a little bit annoyed because I felt like it was an opportunity there, which didn't materialise. But at the end of the day, I had a good day. It was a good day, good people around. You know, we were all having good little chats and whatnot in between sessions and whatnot. But yeah, no, it was good. It was a great event, and I would just hope that next year they do weight classes, so the other heavyweight drivers who compete at Daytona, who win Daytona championships in the heavyweight class, have somewhere to race fairly. And yeah, that's it. On to the next one.